Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. SmackDown Live began their road to Survivor Series with some high-quality matchups and a surprise NXT call-up, but still have featured some very questionable booking decisions, and we are going to bring the hammer down on it right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's SmackDown Live review for November the 6th, 2018. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
All right, wrestling fans, thank you so much for joining me tonight. SmackDown Live review is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering a free 30-day trial and one free audiobook download to fans of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show just to try out their service. Over 180,000 titles to choose from. All you have to do is go to audibletrial.com/sledgehammertv right now to sign up. It doesn't cost a single cent. All you got to do is sign up, try the service free for 30 days, cancel the service if you want before the trial is up, and still keep that audiobook that you chose absolutely free. Just go to audibletrial.com/sledgehammertv and get your free audiobook and 30-day free trial. Ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and sisters of the Sledgehammer Club, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Before we get to the hammering of tonight's show, I want to bring to light something that just hit the newswire right before I hit the record button on this review, as the WWE Universe has been saddened to learn of the passing of one of its legends. Jose Lothario, the legendary manager of the great Shawn Michaels, has passed away tonight at the age of 83, apparently from a heart attack. Jose Lothario wrestled in the National Wrestling Alliance in the 1960s and 70s, but is most known to most of us modern-day wrestling fans as the trainer and manager of Shawn Michaels en route to that classic Iron Man match from WrestleMania 12, where the boyhood dream has come true for HBK. I'm definitely saddened to learn of this. I was not like a tremendously over fan for Jose Lothario, but you have to respect the man whose legacy is important to the WWE. He was a very big part of one of the WWE's most historic and classic moments in all of WrestleMania history. My heart and my prayers go out to Shawn Michaels and his family, who are probably feeling this loss very hard, as well as to the family of Jose Lothario, a great legend of his time, and he will truly, truly be missed. Very sad. I hate losing anybody, really, in the world of professional wrestling. And this is a tough one. A very, very big guy. Right before the Attitude Era hit, he was a very big part of the WWE Universe. Sad to see him go. Now, let the hammering commence. Like I said at the start of this thing, we had some very good quality matchups on tonight's show, but one of the biggest reasons why the WWE is failing as a company is their failure and their ineptitude at creating new stars for people to latch onto. And this episode showed that in quite a few places. We could start right off the bat with the Survivor Series team. By the end of this night, the entire field of superstars for the Survivor Series team to represent SmackDown Live was filled. And amongst the names that were even being considered, one name was notably absent, and that name was Rusev. I don't understand how a guy whose gimmick can be so over with the crowd for so long, a guy that has been just bubbling underneath the surface to ascend to that next level, a star that somebody wants to see, one of the anchors of SmackDown Live, if you want to really call it like it is. He's one of the only reasons most people want to tune into SmackDown Live in the first place. It has nothing to do with Aiden English. It has nothing to do with Lana. It's all been about Rusev. Remember when Rusev was an awesome, awesome villain? and you loved him back then, and then the WWE just ruined his career after he got a haircut and decided to marry his girlfriend without their permission, and he's still being punished to this day by not even being placed into consideration to be part of the SmackDown Live Survivor Series team. That is an injustice. Rusev could effectively be captain of this team if you wanted to. You would have immediately got the WWE Universe behind the SmackDown Live brand if you would have put Rusev on the team. Is that the reason for it? Would people be pulling too hard for Team SmackDown and it would send Vince McMahon into a tizzy that we don't want Raw to win? We already don't want Raw to win. Raw makes us feel like losers every single Monday night. Why do we want to see Raw be victorious? Because they're going to do it for Roman? Who cares? Absolutely terrible. Terrible injustice that Rusev was not even considered to be part of this team. Then you got a guy like Andrade Cien Almas. And I could appreciate that excellent match that we had tonight with Rey Mysterio. It is a match that I have been looking forward to seeing for quite some time. But I don't see the logic in doing this match without any real build. There was nothing really at stake except for the approval of The Miz. Rey Mysterio needed to get the approval of The Miz. This wasn't a definitive, well, the winner gets on the SmackDown Live team type of matches. There were nothing really at stake. And you automatically know that Andrade Cien Almas is not going to beat Rey Mysterio. Because that's not the way the WWE operates. Instead of taking a moment like tonight and maybe giving a win to a guy like Andrade Cien Almas, because a loss would not affect Rey Mysterio in the least. The guy is a legend in the business. He could put over a guy like Andrade Cien Almas. And then maybe still find a way to get Rey on the team if that's the end result. But at least make it more interesting. I can only hope that this is just the beginning, the tip of the iceberg for Almas versus Mysterio. Interestingly enough, Zelina Vega was not at the side of Andrade Cien Almas tonight. Maybe they could use that as one of the key factors as to why Andrade lost tonight. Maybe make it interesting going forward. I will appreciate the series of matchups that these guys will put on. If you take tonight's matchup as an example, you know that I'm telling you guys the truth. This will be a series of matches and a feud that could actually carry the entire brand of SmackDown Live into 2019 if they want to take time and book it correctly. But Andrade Cien Almas, again, just like Rusev, just an afterthought, not even in consideration for Team SmackDown Live. Which is a shame. The guy has been consistently putting on great matchups week in and week out. You could kind of call him the Seth Rollins of SmackDown Live. When Almas is actually out there, what is he doing? He's putting on match of the night. He's been in matchups against AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, all of the top stars on SmackDown Live. This guy goes up against and loses. Can we get this guy to win at least maybe just once in a high-profile matchup and have him ascend to a greater level? Get him solidly pushed up into the upper mid-card, if not into the main event scene where he actually belongs? The guy's only a former NXT World Heavyweight Champion. Doesn't make sense to me. Why they don't see any value in Almas. Why they can't get this guy on a solid winning streak and create a new star. Make a megastar by having him beat a legend like Rey Mysterio, who will suffer nothing from losing to a talent like Almas. Almas probably had a great time tonight. You could tell in the quality of the match that this guy was having a goddamn ball. This was a dream of his. The guy grew up idolizing Rey Mysterio, and tonight they locked up in the ring, and you could tell that they enjoyed every single minute of it. This match was great. So I'm not complaining about the match. What I'm complaining about is the fact that Andrade Cien Almas needs to be pushed in a different direction. Not just placed against superstars to lose. He's not a jobber to the stars. The guy is a star and should be being treated like one, and I would have much rather seen him on Team SmackDown than a returning Rey Mysterio who's been in the company for, what, 6 weeks? And Andrade's been doing his thing for over a year. We got guys like Rusev doing his thing for over the last couple of years, who's getting overshadowed for a spot in this team for a Shane McMahon. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. What else is unacceptable? And I know this has been a hot topic already going on social media. Everybody's either here or there with the debut of Nikki Cross. And I'm telling you, I'm coming down right in the middle. Because on the one hand, like many of you, I'm ecstatic to see Nikki Cross being put on the main roster in a women's division that needs somebody like Nikki Cross, somebody who is different and refreshing and knows her character and can deliver it very well. But having her debut tonight in a matchup against the champ, against the man, Becky Lynch, is not the way you want to create a new star. You don't bring somebody up and have them make their first impression by losing. If she has any value to you, if you have any plans for her in the future, if you want her to be viewed as a big star, there was one clear-cut way to debut Nikki Cross on the main roster, and it was not to answer an open challenge by a pissed-off Becky Lynch while she is en route to a match at Survivor Series versus the Raw champion in Ronda Rousey. Did you think Becky Lynch was going to lose? She definitely wasn't going to lose. Makes Nikki Cross come off, much like Andrade Cien Almas, as a jobber. Like the local jobber answering the open challenge. Little Miss Muffin stuff from West Mississippi or whatever, just answering a challenge. Nobody really knows who she is if they don't watch NXT. Sure, they were in Manchester. They're close to her hometown in Scotland, so naturally she got the reaction that everybody they guessed they were trying to get. And it was nice to see Sanity return from the dead, but the only reason the WWE brought them back was to introduce Nikki Cross. They didn't have a match for them or anything like that. God forbid. Nikki Cross comes out and loses to the champ. Was it entertaining? Absolutely. Nikki versus Becky, right? Let's play, Becky. Come play. Nikki wants to play. Nikki versus Becky. Let's play. It was cool. I was into it. I like Nikki Cross as a character. I love Becky Lynch as the champ. Now is not the time for this. The one way to debut Nikki Cross was to have her show up and attack her rival from NXT, Asuka, who's floundering in the mid-card doing nothing. What better way to debut Nikki Cross than have Asuka in a one-on-one match, maybe against Mandy or Sonya or whoever the hell else you guys have value in the women's division on SmackDown Live, and have her cost Asuka her match. Or have the match completely thrown out due to the interference of Nikki Cross. Have them reignite a rivalry that was red hot in NXT. The girls have chemistry. They work well together. They were involved in the actual first ever last woman standing match in all of WWE history. And they could put on a show that would be very hard to top for the rest of the women's division. Why wouldn't you want that? Why wouldn't you want that level of competition? And then you would have the rest of the girls needing to strive to that level to try to top what Asuka and Nikki Cross can do. And what they could do is way better than what anybody else is doing on the main roster right now. If, of course, they were allowed to by WWE Creative, which is a whole nother story for a whole nother show. Debuting Nikki Cross against Becky this way does nothing but harm the character of Nikki Cross. Was it entertaining? Was it a good showing for Nikki Cross? Absolutely. But seeing Nikki Cross absolutely just pushed to the side by the end of this thing, tapping out to the disarmer, how big does that make her? How exciting does that make her? Is anybody really looking forward to seeing her again? Unless you're fully invested in Sanity from NXT? If this is your first time seeing Nikki Cross tonight, are you impressed? Do you give a shit? This is how you make a first impression on somebody that could be important to the women's division down the line? I didn't agree with it. I would have much rather seen her debut and attack Asuka. Start something that could potentially be the cornerstone of the SmackDown Live women's division. Instead, we get Paige coming out and making Survivor Series teams. The Women's Survivor Series team is just as much of a mess as the men's side is. I don't understand why the Iconics were pushed to the side to have Sonya Deville in there and Carmella in there. All right, well, let's break it down. Carmella, first ever Women's Money in the Bank winner, former SmackDown Live Women's Champion, so you can kind of forgive Carmella's involvement here. Asuka should be on this team, absolutely. Naomi should be on this team, absolutely. So now the two remaining members don't need to have Charlotte Flair included. You could have had the Iconics fill out that team 5-on-5. Peyton Royce is a fantastic wrestler. Billie Kay we don't see that much of, but Peyton Royce is the anchor of that team, and she deserves to be on the SmackDown Live Women's Survivor Series tag team. I don't understand why. It's so up and down the way they choose to book one person from one week to the next. Why the Iconics aren't being involved is beyond me. I would have much rather seen them than some of the choices they had on that team tonight. Charlotte Flair teasing whether or not she's going to be part of this team. Her music hits, she doesn't come out. Then we got Mandy Rose coming out, trying to stake her claim to the whole thing. Who wants to see fucking Mandy Rose on this team other than Corey Graves, who wants to sound like a 13-year-old every time this girl shows up on the screen busting a nut at the announce table? I could care less about Mandy Rose, God's greatest creation. Scarlett Bordeaux is way, way better than a Mandy Rose any day of the week, if you're asking me. This show, like I said, featured some fantastic wrestling, but when you look at some of the things that I put at you guys tonight, how can you think that they know what they're doing? They don't know what they're doing. They're flying one day to the next, not knowing what the hell the plan is for the end result, maybe being Survivor Series. I truly think they're going at it from minute to minute. We had absolutely no mention of a Survivor Series elimination tag team matchup for the tag team division on Monday Night Raw. It's like they didn't even know what was happening. There was absolutely no mention of it, but tonight we started to build towards it, and they started to build towards this one in a pretty decent way, as we had the Usos taking on the New Day, and the winners of this team would captain the SmackDown Live tag team match for the Survivor Series. Okay. Now, I was very happy to see that the Usos won this matchup over the New Day. I automatically assumed they were going to give it to the New Day. You know how the WWE loves them some fucking pancakes, right? But they did the right thing. They gave the captainship to the Usos, who also did the right thing by immediately placing the New Day as the first team on their list to start to fill out the team for SmackDown Live. And that was a fantastic move. The Usos pretty much saying, you know, we respect everything you guys bring to the ring, and we want to go to war side by side with the New Day. And I'm into it. I absolutely enjoy it. I don't know where they're going to go from there. Outside of Sanity, what other fucking tag teams are there even on SmackDown Live to have this match? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what they're going to do with the rest of that. But I was okay. The Usos defeating the New Day, and I was alright with that. The show actually started off with Paige and Shane McMahon out there opening the show, announcing the Survivor Series card, which is as follows. As we know, Brock versus AJ Styles, Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch, Authors of Pain versus The Bar, Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and then we're going to have 3 separate 5-on-5 tag team elimination Survivor Series style matchups, to which they named Daniel Bryan and The Miz co-captains of this team, and then the rest of the night would be this very weird comedy odd couple sketch for Daniel Bryan and The Miz. One of the things I don't want to see Daniel and Bryan and The Miz doing is pretending to be buddy-buddy. It was very cringeworthy, and it was very weird, and the WWE was aware of the fact that it was weird because they kept wanting to make Daniel Bryan and The Miz tell you guys that this was weird. They would come to some sort of a weird agreement and then be like, oh, this is weird. This is kind of weird. I'm going to go over here. This is weird. I don't like being friends with you. It's weird. Very cringe. Very cringe-worthy stuff. I could care less about any of that shit. I didn't enjoy any of that. Oh, it was so funny. What was funny about it? The awkward cues? The weird pauses because they can't really act as well as you guys probably think? These are 2 guys that I love. I love The Miz. I love Daniel Bryan. I didn't love any of this backstage bullshit that we had to do. This odd couple, this bickering, just like all this authority bullshit, like the general managers. It's always got to be these guys that are placed in charge, and then we got to see them bickering, taking time away from time we should be seeing people wrestle. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it was unnecessary. And it wasn't entertaining to me. All night, these 2 squabbling. Well, I'm going to pick this guy. I'm going to pick that guy. Did you really give a shit? And at the end of the night, look at the team they assembled. When the first pick went to Shane McMahon, I already knew I didn't give a shit anymore, and that the rest of this team was going to be bullshit. You're putting a Shane McMahon in there over a guy like a Rusev, over Andrade Cien Almas, and I'm supposed to give a shit? Even R-Truth deserves a spot on the SmackDown Live team over a Shane McMahon. Why does Shane McMahon have to be part of this match, but Baron Corbin does not? If Shane McMahon was placed on the outside like they're doing with Baron Corbin and like they're doing with Alexa Bliss, I would be fine with it. This guy's just the manager of the team. He's outside. He could probably play a part in the finish. He doesn't have to be part of the match. The whole best in the world thing has already played its part, and it's already done. It's already played out, and it's overdone, and I don't want to hear it anymore. You got The Miz trying to take credit. Oh, well, I'm 2/3 of the best in the world, and you're 1/3 of the best in the world, so together we're the best in the world bestie cup holders. No, man. No. I don't want to hear this kind of bullshit, and it just makes me sick. Sick to my stomach that Shane McMahon's come back. He's barely even been back a full month, and he has already been proclaimed the best in the world. He won a tournament to which he was not even placed in, and now he's being put on a Survivor Series team at the behest of The Miz, and Daniel Bryan is okay with it. Oh, you know what? That's a great idea. This is weird. I don't like to agree with you. This is weird. Why would you do that? You got Rusev standing over there, and you're going to put Shane McMahon? You're going up against Braun Strowman. You're going to put Shane McMahon in there? Drew McIntyre's waiting on the other side. And angry Dolph Ziggler is waiting on the other side to get some vengeance on Shane McMahon. You're going to bring him into the match? You think that's a good idea? It's a bad idea just based off of the fact that the guy is the commissioner. We don't want to see authority figures wrestling. I don't give a shit if your last name is McMahon. In fact, that brings it down even more so. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Absolutely horrible. Guys like R-Truth are going out there week after week. The guy's in his 40s. He's putting on matches that he shouldn't even be putting on. Shouldn't be able to do the things he does. Moving his body in ways that a 40-year-old shouldn't move. In some of the best shape of his life. Putting on great matches against guys like Shinsuke Nakamura. But Shane McMahon gets to be on this team. Rey Mysterio gets to just be put on this team based off of his legendary career. I'm not with it. The only choice that I was accepting of for this SmackDown Live team was Samoa Joe. How can you refuse Samoa Joe? You want a badass on your team? You want somebody that can go in the clutch? Then you got Samoa Joe. You want somebody that can go toe-to-toe with Strowman? You got Samoa Joe in your back pocket. That was a decent choice. But now if you want to add in Rusev, then you almost have an unbeatable team. If you would have did Daniel Bryan and The Miz and Almas, Rusev, and Joe. There's your team. That's a much better SmackDown Live team. You want to throw Randy Orton in there? I would have been fine with that too. Unbelievable the way they've shaped up this team. And just absolutely cannot figure out what it is that Rusev did to piss everybody off. I just don't get it. Absolutely ridiculous. As far as the rest of this show goes, what else do we got here? Daniel Bryan makes his pick to be Rey Mysterio. The Miz says Rey Mysterio can be on the team if he impresses him versus Andrade Cien Almas, and now I automatically know that Andrade Cien Almas is not going to win this matchup. Becky Lynch is shown backstage wearing a Ronda Rousey Baddest Woman on the Planet t-shirt, and she rips it off like the Hulkster and reveals the I Am the Man t-shirt underneath. Comes out and gives us a pretty good fire-style promo. Says she wasn't handpicked to be the champ, but here she is. She wasn't handpicked to be the main event, but here she is. She wasn't supposed to be the talk of the wrestling world, but here she is right now. And she doesn't care that Ronda Rousey is the baddest bitch on the planet, because at Survivor Series, she's going to make Ronda Rousey her bitch. And then Becky Lynch was going to walk off and leave, and I was totally fired up by it. I thought her promo was way better than Ronda Rousey's from last night, and I've been loving everything she's been doing on social media. Becky Lynch is playing whatever this character is that she's playing to a T, and I'm absolutely enjoying it, regardless on what side of the fence you come down on, whether she's babyface or whether she's heel. You can't deny she's one of the most compelling and enjoyable characters on the show, regardless of where her loyalties may lie. Now, if she had just left, I would have been even happier, but instead, we had what we have already talked about, Nikki Cross answering an open challenge because Becky fired herself up so much that she wanted to fight. And instead of one of the ladies on the SmackDown Live roster stepping up, somebody from NXT decides to come up, make their debut, and take a big old L from the man, from the champ, in a very decent showing for Nikki Cross. It was a great match. She showed her toughness. She showed how crazy she was coming out there. Let's play. You want to play, Becky? Let's play. Play with Nikki. Right? It was cool, man. I was into it. I thought it was great, but I just didn't like the fact that they, right off the bat, sacrificed Nikki Cross without giving her any kind of momentum. And now she's just another loser in the women's division. Great to see her back. Horrible the way they used her. Absolutely horrible. The Miz and Daniel Bryan decide for the final spot. They are going to both choose their respective opponents, and the winner of that matchup is going to be placed in the final spot for the Survivor Series team of SmackDown Live. The Miz picks Samoa Joe, which makes Daniel Bryan pretty pissed off considering all of the history they've had in the last couple of months. And Daniel Bryan picks Jeff Hardy, who the Miz was actually accepting of, but thinks he needs somebody a little bit more ferocious with a little bit more of an edge. So he's banking his money on Samoa Joe for the final spot of the Survivor Series team. We then had Mysterio versus Almas, which again, fantastic match. Star-making type of a match for Andrade Cien Almas. No Zelina Vega in his corner. Did that really make a difference? Could that play a factor in the future if they decide not to drop this like a bad habit like the WWE likes to do on most occasions? I would not like to see that happen. I want to see this revisited. I don't want to see it as a weekly segment like they do on Monday Night Raw, but if they take the time and invest, this could be a money feud on SmackDown Live. Great match. Mysterio wins, but at the end of this thing, the guy receives an RKO out of nowhere from Randy Orton. So one of the things I'm hoping happens is maybe in the next couple of weeks leading up to SmackDown Live, Randy Orton does something to Rey Mysterio to have him removed from the SmackDown Live team. I doubt this is going to happen. This is just me hoping and speculating so that they could replace him with somebody else, and then maybe we can have Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton at the Survivor Series as a special one-on-one matchup with some sort of a stipulation, and have this gain some heat over the next couple of weeks to make everybody get interested. I don't have any faith that they would do something like that or would be able to pull it off before the end of it, but that's what I would rather see happen than see Rey Mysterio in this SmackDown Live tag team matchup for the Survivor Series. Paige then announces the Survivor Series team: Carmella for the women, Naomi, Sonya Deville, and Asuka. She wants Charlotte Flair to be on the team. Charlotte Flair does not come out. We get Mandy Rose and the porno music instead. Nobody gives a shit except for Corey Graves. She did bring up some good points, though. I will say whoever scripted Mandy Rose for tonight gave her some good stuff to say. She didn't deliver it that well. She was a little bit cringy herself. But the questions were pretty spot on. She came out and wanted to know right away why Paige would pick Sonya Deville over Mandy Rose, throwing her buddy right under the bus right off the bat. She then said the Empress of Tomorrow was more like yesterday's news. She said Carmella's title reigns were like her dance breaks, short and meaningless. And then she turned her attention to Naomi, who said, is anybody feeling the glow anymore? How about your husband, right? Making it personal, throwing that in there. Next thing you know, Naomi's attacking Mandy. Everything breaks down. There is no finality for the fifth member. Paige doesn't want it to be Mandy Rose. We don't know where Charlotte is. Nobody knows where the Queen is at. Nobody really cares, if you ask me. Charlotte Flair, feeling the effects of not being in the title picture anymore, doesn't even want to play in the sandbox anymore, apparently. Sore loser, sitting out crying, I don't believe myself anymore. That's what they're painting her out to be. She doesn't want to wrestle anymore because she lost to Becky Lynch. Okay, whatever. We'll see where this goes. Charlotte Flair is going to be part of this team before all is said and done. If she's going to accept the captainship is the next question. Do you really care? No, absolutely not. And who cares who they're going to be placed against? This is just going to be a meaningless 5-on-5 women's matchup full of everybody that they don't know what else to do with, and it's not going to come out that good when you got a Sonya Deville and you got Carmella. I don't enjoy anything that they did with this women's team. AJ Styles. AJ Styles cut a promo on Brock Lesnar. Very, very intense, very straightforward and to the point, and I enjoyed what AJ Styles had to say. He was bringing to light that for the second year in a row, he's going to be taking on a man who is more than just a man. He is a beast at the Survivor Series, but this year, the outcome will be different. He is going to beat the Beast Brock Lesnar. It's not a prediction. It's a spoiler because he's the phenomenal AJ Styles. I liked it. I don't necessarily believe it. I have a feeling that WWE is trolling us here as well and is going to make us all believe in AJ, only to have him squashed in minutes by a guy who needs to keep the Universal title on his shoulder so he can go play with Daniel Cormier and talk about it in the UFC and cross-promote and all this shit that's infecting the WWE right now. So I don't expect them to give that match to AJ Styles, although I will be rooting for him 110% to beat the Beast at Survivor Series. And the show would finish with the Samoa Joe versus Jeff Hardy matchup, with the winner being placed in the final spot for SmackDown Live's team going into Survivor Series. Samoa Joe wins this matchup. This, again, was a good matchup on the night to watch. Joe and Jeff Hardy had some pretty good chemistry going on. It was interesting for the most part, except for the fact I didn't understand why they went to commercial right so soon before the end of the show. Did anybody else catch that? They were like maybe 5 minutes left in the show. We were at commercial. We got a high-stakes match going on, and you just want to sell me shit when I want to see what's going on. You actually had a good match going, and you had to ruin it with something like terribly placed commercial breaks. But Samoa Joe's win was not even the real story at the end of this matchup, as he would go out to the announce desk and start to taunt Daniel Bryan. Everybody's asking Daniel Bryan to keep his cool, but Daniel Bryan would not. Daniel Bryan absolutely snapped, attacked Samoa Joe. The Miz would try to restrain him. He would end up getting his ass flipped over. Shane McMahon comes out. He gets flipped around by Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's flipping everybody, and then he walks out. The crowd doing the yes chant. Crowd kind of weird on Daniel Bryan, a little spotty on him. Sounds like he was getting booed at the beginning of the show every here and there. I don't know what that's about. But SmackDown Live would end with a snapping Daniel Bryan, leaving a little bit of intrigue as to what's going to go on next week, although I do not agree with all the people that they placed on the teams and how that they brought up Nikki Cross and ruined her right from the get-go, and how they continue to not know what to do with Andrade Cien Almas and everything else in between. SmackDown Live was not a great show. It featured some great matchups, and that's probably the most important thing. Maybe you might say, oh, well, they had great wrestling. All you say is you want great wrestling. But if you want to accompany great wrestling with storytelling that makes sense, stuff that doesn't make me feel stupid, stuff that's not very easily predictable, it makes everything all the better. And when you're a nationally televised television program, you have to get the hammer brought down on you when you have done things that don't make sense. Nothing really makes sense, as usual. I loved the tag team matchup. I loved all the matches we actually had tonight. They were all very, very good. But I'm not really that looking forward to Survivor Series. I want to know if you guys are looking forward to Survivor Series. So make sure you nail me in the... Don't nail me. Never mind. Hit me up. I don't know why I said nail me. Hit me up in the comments down below. Bring the hammer down on any points you want to nail home. Maybe that's what was in the back of my mind when I asked you guys to nail me. But if you're going to nail me, at least do it gently, all right? Take it easy on me, will you please? I'm not used to that kind of thing. But let me know what you thought about tonight's show. Let me know what you liked about tonight's show, what you hated about tonight's show. If you think I'm being a little bit too picky, if you think I'm being too hard on the show, let me know. If you think I should lighten up a little bit, that's your opinion, but I doubt that's going to happen. I'll try my best to do so, but I don't think that's going to happen. The only thing that's going to make me feel better is when I start getting good wrestling from my favorite wrestling company, and the only time that happens is on a Wednesday. So enjoy all the good wrestling that we get tomorrow night, and until then, we will be here to bring the hammer down on every single thing the WWE throws at us on a Monday and a Tuesday consistently, because they deserve it. Just like you deserve to be here with me, and I deserve to be here with you each and every night following these crap fests to deliver on the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. I want to thank you guys, as always, for being a part of this show. My Sledgehammer Club is growing by the numbers. We are so damn close to 1K, and it's going to go over the edge with this video, and I can feel it because an awesome wrestling fan like you is going to hit that subscribe button right now because you just found your new favorite wrestling show, a show that brings the fun, brings the fire, and brings the hammer down on the world of the WWE. One show at a time, and I can't do it without your support, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button, smash that like button if you enjoyed today's show, and share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they're not gearing up to be too excited for Survivor Series following the first two shows on the road to that pay-per-view in just a couple of weeks. Don't forget to check out last night's hammering of the Raw review. We got the Crown Jewel review up there, still firing on all cylinders, so if you missed it, make sure you get over there and make sure you hit that like button on everything you guys watch. The subscription box showdown is up. We have the Evolution review. If you missed that, that's up there. Everything that you need in the world of professional wrestling resides right here on Sledgehammer TV, home of the Sledgehammer Club and the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is my team, Thor, the wrestling god of thunder and the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, and his tag team partner, the world heavyweight champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball. We are so pleased to be with you each and every night that we are here talking about pro wrestling, and I can't thank you guys enough. That, my friends, is going to do it, and we are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.